So what they would do in order to get it covered is they would use fake diagnoses, right? Allegedly. So estrogen deficiency. So you have a boy who believes he's a girl. So in the medical record, it says female everywhere in the charts. And then the diagnosis would be estrogen deficiency. They couldn't use gender dysphoria as the diagnostic code for the insurance company because that would be not kosher, right? That would be illegal. So what they do is they use a fake diagnosis, estrogen deficiency. So when the insurance company sees it, they see estrogen deficiency in a female in order to justify the payment for this intervention, right? But that's fraud. That's illegal. You can't do that, right? So that's like they're using the evidence of their healthy physiology as evidence of their disease, right? So the fact that this kid is healthy is what they're using as evidence of the disease that they bill to an insurance company. If that's true, which I highly doubt that this is untrue if she's willing to come out with these allegations, because these allegations have severe implications if you allege it with it not being true.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, so what is going through the mind of these people who are doing this?
Well, are we surprised?
So
are we
ideologically?
What consequences? Yeah. What consequences? Right? It's like up until this point, right? It's only like it's because she decided to come out that something might be done, right? But it's because of you had someone who's brave enough, like she's a random person just like me. Like we're nobody. We're no one, right? Like for them, we're just peasants. But like because she's coming out, she's willing to speak out. These people might be held accountable. I have to believe they're going to be held accountable.
Oh, I hope you're right.
And it's not we've had some support from politicians, from some really, really good people like Ted Cruz, Josh Hawley, Dan Crenshaw, Brian Harrison, in the Texas Senate, some guy who's like, this guy's the real deal, Brian Harrison. And it's because of whistleblowers like us that something like this can happen. But
so what's going through their head? Like, why are they doing this? If it's illegal, they're lying to the public. Like, what is it? Are they just so, Charlie Munger says, show me an incentive and I'll show you an outcome.
Yeah. Well, and it's, I think that's part of it. I think that's a component because when you medicalize a 11-year-old child, well then, like the amount of money that you can make over the next decade is like unbelievable. We're talking about billions and billions of dollars.
Well, because they become lifelong medical patients.
Yeah. Lifelong medical patients by their own protocol, right? Like they have to take like their existence, right? Them not killing themselves is based on a doctor's prescription pad or a surgeon's recommendations. That is what they say. There is no off-ramp for them. There is nothing because any off-ramp is prevented by the moral blackmail of suicide. So of course, they have to stay on this for the rest of their lives, right, in order to justify it.
So you think the hospital administrators were financially motivated?
Oh, of course. I mean, that's my opinion. Oh yeah, absolutely, because it's like, how much money can they make? I mean, there was that video from Nashville, from Vanderbilt, where they say, well, we can make a ton of money with these procedures, $40,000 for a surgery. Yeah. I heard stories from Northern California where the orthopedic surgeons are being pushed out of operating room time for the gender surgeons. And a lot of people won't understand the significance of that. Anyone who works in an operating room will immediately be shocked because
I don't understand the significance.
Orthopedic surgeons rule the roost of because they make the most money, because they use hardware. So if you have orthopedic surgeons being pushed out, then that means whatever surgeon is pushing these people out is making crazy amounts of money.
Okay, so if that's true, it's even more dastardly than I thought.
Yeah.
Because if the motivation is financial as opposed to ideological, that makes them not merely wrong, but just
and consider this, especially about the surgery, is that the people who run WPATH, right? They are charlatans of the highest order. These people sell snake oil. These people are the most vile deceivers you can imagine. Like, we can't even call them doctors. They are the exact they're anti-doctors. But WPATH will launder their phony recommendations to the other organizations, right? So it's like a cartel of medical negligence. They create this product like a drug, and they launder these phony recommendations to other organizations like the American Academy of Pediatrics, the Endocrine Society. And what they'll do is these other societies will adopt their phony recommendations. And then from that, you have something called the Castro consensus, right? You have this perception of consensus within the medical community that's actually total baloney, right? It's like completely fake. But all the recommendations come from the original source, the Cartel of Medical Negligence, WPATH. But the people who are making those recommendations are the same surgeons who have lucrative surgery practices in like Southern California, the ones who are doing these surgeries. And I can't think of the name, but like if you pull it up, right, you have a WPATH surgeon who is on the committee board, the recommendation board for the Endocrine Society. It's the same person who is also the one making recommendations for the American Academy of like Plastic Surgeons, right? It's like the same person who's laundering fake recommendations to all these organizations, right? So it's just, in my mind, like a criminal entity, right? People who are
A cartel.
a cartel of medical negligence, right? Nothing more, nothing less. They're a cartel of medical negligence. And we should just start treating it that way because now we have the evidence. We've always kind of knew it was true, but now we have irrefutable evidence, especially with the WPATH files, the WPATH tapes, the discovery coming from Alabama, everything, right? You have their own words, right? Their own words. Yeah.
I'm starting to think maybe there is no punishment too great given that somebody would ruin countless children's lives in the worst conceivable way. There probably is no punishment too great for them.
I think that's a reasonable opinion. And, of course, I think that's one of those things that has to be, in order to maintain justice, it has to be legal, right? It has to go through a court. People have to be tried by a jury of their peers. But at this point, it's like, if what we're talking about is not just criticism, it's not just like, no, but moving the needle, right? Like we were talking about earlier, like we both can't stand it when people just complain, but like what is it that they're doing, right? Like to move the needle forward. Like we're in a position, people like us, where it's like we can maybe make an impact. Like people like you, maybe not me, but like people like you. But we can move the needle forward. It's not just about criticizing this, it's about holding them accountable.
That's right. It has to be about that.
Yeah, it's not just about defense, but offense, which is like what we've always believed in my case too. It's not just, we can't just tell this story about them coming after me, like this profound corruption. Like, no, afterwards, we have to hold these people accountable, right, for what they've done. There's no other option. Because if we don't hold them accountable, then they're just going to do the same thing to someone else.
And the machine is going to perpetuate, and they will silence all critics, and more children will get hurt.
Yeah.
And the crisis of cowardice will be perpetuated.
Yeah, yeah. And it's like, but the crisis of cowardice is perpetuated, but what we can do is take that same like principle, right, where cowardice is perpetuated when other people are cowards. But it doesn't have to be that way, because it's also like heroism in truth can be perpetuated in the same fashion, where it's like with this other whistleblower, it's like, well, I was willing to speak out. Yeah, Vanessa was willing to speak out and do the same thing. And
she was only willing to speak out after, subsequent to you speaking out.
Well, I mean, she's
like, you paved the way and made it easy.
She's got some serious cojones. She's got some chutzpah. I mean, I think for her, like, I see her as like, she's on a whole different level than me, like way above. I see her as like,
they must despise her.
They must hate her, but like for me, really, it's like, I see her as like, she's way above me in terms of courage. I see myself as just like a schmo. Like she is like up here. You're
definitely not a schmo.
Yeah.
I wonder if I wonder what can, like, so people listening to this, I'm trying to think, like, what can motivate people who know there's an injustice, who know that the system is corrupt, whether it be the peer-reviewed system, whether it be, I mean, there are just so many systems at this point. Our institutions have wholly failed us on a number of levels.
Well, you know, if there's one thing that like would motivate them, right? Is that the question? Well, I would say, you know, I'm not like an evangelist, but if there's one thing I will evangelize on, it's this. It's that, like, when we had started this whole thing, it's like, I thought that we were going to step into this world and it was just going to be darkness, right? That it was going to be a free fall until my impending destruction, right? That, but even with that, it was still the right thing to do. But what I'm realizing is that, like, once I stepped out into this world, that it's not this world of darkness, it's actually a world of light, right? That the grass is so much greener on the other side.
100%.
That even though it seems, even though, and that's why I want to, like, I'm not an evangelist, but I'll evangelize on this, man. Because, like, you step out into this world, you think you're going to be destroyed, but it's actually so much better than you can ever imagine, because there's this entire world of people who are willing to stand up, who are willing to do the right thing, who are willing to stand by you and sacrifice something meaningful for a cause worth fighting for. And it's like, man, like, you'll have everyone, so many people come to your side and be like, you know what, like, you sacrifice, I will sacrifice with you. And I believe that because it's like, my legal team, like, they've sacrificed, they've put their jobs, their profession on the line to do this. You know, other people have, like Vanessa, she sacrificed everything to do the right thing. But for the first time in my entire life, we can look into the mirror and say, like, I can live truthfully, I can live with dignity. I don't have to lie. Whatever they take from me, my daughter will grow up knowing that her father was willing to fight for a future. And if that is not a greener pastures, then there's nothing fucking that is, you know? Then there's nothing that's worth doing, that is worth sacrificing for, but that is worth sacrificing for.
And you'll know who your friends are and who they are not.
Yeah. So it's always the most terrifying in the beginning, because you don't know what world, it's like the unknown. But it's that unknown that you should go towards. It's that unknown that you should strive towards, because that is a world that's much better than the one you're living in now. And that's a fact. That's one thing that's true.
It's more authentic.
It's the most authentic. It's not more, it's the most authentic. And like, you can attest to this too, like, how much have you sacrificed, right? I mean, you know, it's you can't even.
And my life is so much better now as a result.
Everyone says that. It's true, because like you might lose something, but you gain something in the process. You might lose your freedom, but you gain your dignity in the process. You might lose your finances, but you gain your truth in the process. And they, like, the only things they can take away are the things that we're willing to give away. But we are the ones in control now, right? We're the ones who, they require our compliance in order to ensure our destruction, you know? Like, and all we have to do is refuse. All we have to do is say no. To say no, like, we're not going along with it. You want to destroy our future? No. We refuse. We will not comply. We will not go along with your phony world, with your clown world. We're not going to go along with it any longer. And we're willing to sacrifice for saying no, right? And, like, that's a much better world than the alternative. And for all those people out there who, like, you know, then they have to understand that that's the truth. It is better out there.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell. This falls under the umbrella of my nonprofit, National Progress Alliance. Your generous donations keep us going and help fuel content like this. We truly appreciate your support. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next one.